Good morning everyone, how's it going? So I'm about to hit the road once more. As you may know if you're a regular follower of the vlogs, I've had a bit of a break, which you can find out about in the previous vlog where I covered what I've done for 10 days in Bratislava and Budapest. But now we're back onto regular vlogging again and of course cycling, so I continue cycling towards England. I think I'll get there in about 3 weeks time, and today is about 100 kilometre day. I'm going to cycle along the Danube and reach a town called Tulln, I believe. I think that's how it's pronounced. Which is in Austria, and after that I've got a series of kind of like 90 kilometre days, 100 kilometre days until I get back to the UK, but it's mainly flat now, so no worries. The weather in Europe recently has been a bit of a concern. It's been a dreadful summer by all accounts, apart from Greece, which is unfortunately what I left behind. Apparently there it's 40 degrees. Within Europe it's been raining constantly, so I have no idea what the weather is going to hold for me. I know some areas that I intend to cycle through have flooded, so I have no idea if campsites are open and that sort of thing. So it'll be a bit of a sort of cycle through and see what happens as I go along. Anyway, enough of me talking now. I will hit the road and give you some more videos. Thanks a lot. Speak to you in a bit. Cheers. Hi there. So that wasn't a completely successful day's ride in the end. There was a series of things that went wrong. So nothing major, but just little things. So let me begin. So my GoPro didn't have any charge, which meant there's no videos from the road. My phone is playing up, which means it needs a new battery, so I couldn't film from the phone either. My spare power bank, I hadn't charged that. A wasp stung me on the middle finger. What else happened? The seat kept coming loose. There was a headwind all the way, and it was I think I averaged 12 kilometers an hour for the entire duration. And that's about it. Yeah, it just seemed like there was a series of niggly things that were just holding me back. So short video, no video from the road. And as you can see, I'm making this film from my tent, and I just need to show you where I am because I don't actually know. And I ended up in a place called Klosterneuburg, which is just outside of Vienna. So tomorrow's a new day. I've got some of my gear recharged again, and I hit the road and get another 80-90 kilometers done. Speak to you soon. Cheers. Good morning everyone, how's it going? So, I've slept well, I've rested well, I've eaten well, I've drunk well, it's been a good night. And today is lovely clear blue sky. I don't know if you can see it behind me, but take my word for it, it is. Yesterday was like really overcast, headwind all the way. It was, I wasn't in a positive frame of mind either. It was pretty tough work, but today is a completely new day. Looking forward to hitting the road. There's about 100 kilometers to cycle, and I'm heading to a place called Emmersdorf. The destination is another campsite, and hopefully the ground is all flat. I will give you some videos from the road as I have now charged my GoPro, and that's all I've got to say for now. So I will speak to you in a bit and show you some vids of the River Danube and probably lots of other cyclists, as there appears to be quite a few on this stretch of road. Speak to you in a bit. Before I go straight into the commentary, probably best to explain a couple of things. I'm cycling along the River Danube route, and it's a very popular cycling path, which means the campsites I'm stopping at are quite busy. I do the voiceover in the tent in the campsites, which means if you can hear anyone running around in the background or shouting or whatever, it's other people in the campground. And obviously at the same time, people are probably wondering, why is this guy talking to himself in his tent? But do we care? No, I certainly don't. Anyway, onto the River Danube trail itself. The trail follows Eurovelo Route 6, and this is the most realised Eurovelo route. There's a number of them that stretch through Europe. Some take coastal routes, some are on pilgrimage tracks, and this one follows the River Danube. As such, it uses a combination of different paths. There are some purpose-built cycle paths, which are great. There are quiet country lanes, and there are service roads. And it keeps you away from the traffic, and it makes the ride all the more pleasant. Obviously you've got the River Danube as company for most of the way as well, and the route itself crisscrosses over, so you can be on one side of the river for 10 kilometres, then cross over to the other side and be on the other side of the river. So while you're cycling by the coast, it's very easy because you just keep the seat to the right, for example, and you know you're going in the right direction. And this morning I turned a bend and crossed the river, and it really did feel like I was going backwards on myself, and I had to stop and just double check the sat-nav, but it's not that complicated. The route is really well signposted, and I'll show you a little bit later on some of the signposts that are there. So as I said, it's a very popular route. I think I have got some video of some cyclists a little bit later on, and I really should get some more, but there are literally cyclists every 5 or 10 minutes. And some of these people are camping like I am, some are just going from guest house to guest house, and some are even on organised tours. At the campsite here there's a minivan turned up, and some people are on an organised tour, so the van takes their tents and everything, and the guys just cycle through the day, and then the tents are set up and waiting for them at night. That sounds pretty good actually. Maybe I'll try that one day, who knows. So the day cycle itself, lovely weather, and is much better than the previous day. There was no headwind at all, and it was just nice just to push along, kind of averaging about 17 kilometres an hour all told. And yeah, it's very nice scenery and just very chilled and relaxed. And I think at this point I started to realise that every pedal I take is actually bringing me towards the end of the trip now. So yeah, there we go. There's one of the signposts, so it's pretty clear. It doesn't matter which direction you're coming from, it points you in the way. And the signposts just appear at a junction, so they're not all the while. If you're on a straight stretch of road which is 20 kilometres long, you might not see a signpost for 20 kilometres, but when there's a junction or something obvious where you might need to turn, it does let you know where you are. So although I've got the route planned on my sat nav, I'm not really following it, and I actually prefer the signposted route. For anyone that's followed my blogs before, or any of my trips, you may be aware that I cycled some of this route about 10 years ago when I cycled from England to South Africa. And today I started recognising one or two sections. Now I know something like that should really stand out in your mind, but I've cycled in so many places that, yeah, it's just beyond me. Anyway, across the river there's a hydroelectric dam. And I think the height difference between the two areas is about 10 or 15 metres, which isn't that much. But yeah, I thought I'd have a little look and see how it works. And basically the water thunders down one part, which is there. It goes through a turbine, and then it goes out the other side. And I'm not sure how much power it generates, but it's quite interesting to see that. Nice to see nature being harnessed. And I guess that it's a way of also controlling the water level on the Danube, because it must flood when there's been heavy rains. So yeah, that was very interesting to watch and see. So I didn't make Emmendorf in the end. I stopped at a place called Krems, and it's another campsite. It's averaging €14, and that's about all I've got to say for now really. Tomorrow's another day, and I'll do another 80 kilometres, 100 kilometres, and see where I end up. Thanks very much for watching, and cheers for now. Good morning everyone, it's time to hit the road once more, and as you can see behind me, the sky is lovely and clear, it's blue, the sun is shining. What a beautiful day to be cycling. So I'm going to hope to do about 100 kilometres today. And I've spoken to a few cyclists yesterday, and the ground appears to be flat and it's just very scenic. So I'm kind of stuck between really wanting to crack out the kilometres and just taking it easy and enjoying it while it is easy. Because obviously compared to some of the mountains that I've just cycled through, this is pretty good really. But anyway, we'll take each kilometre as it comes. I'm going to stay in another campground. I think Austria is a little bit too expensive to be staying in guest houses and hotels. Although that said, if I get some work come in, I may stay in a guest house as it will kind of pay for itself. Let me just move out of the way. There's a car about to come past. Hold on. There we go. We don't really want to get run over, do we, before we've started? And what else to say? No, that's about it. I'll give you some more videos from the road and speak to you guys in a bit. Cheers for now. As I left the campsite, I cycled past this bicycle rental place. And as you can see, there's loads and loads of bikes there. And this bike rental place is just one of many along the River Danube Trail. And it's really popular with the domestic market. So I imagine there's a lot of German and Austrians that come to the River Danube, you know, to be out in the great outdoors and to do this, what is relatively easy cycle ride. Although, don't underestimate it, but it is relatively easy. There's a lot of infrastructure there. And I think that's the key. There's a lot of infrastructure. Not only is the bike path well defined, not only does it keep you away from traffic, but there's campsites at regular intervals. There's places, rest places for cyclists to stop and get some water. And, you know, there's hotels that cater for cyclists and restaurants, and it's got everything you need. Anyway, this day was actually, well, the morning, the first 3 or 4 hours, was probably some of the most scenic views that I've had on the trip so far. Went through some really, really pretty villages. It was really quite outstanding. Some of the roads were cobbled through the villages, which was quite fun. And but yeah, the views were amazing. You've got these little churches, and then you come out to the countryside, and this is obviously grape growing area again. There's vineyards to my right and to the left, and there's also some small hills in the background as well. But each village just seems to be, you know, kind of picture postcard perfect in a way. And along the way, as you can see, I'm passing plenty of cyclists. So there's all sorts of cyclists on this route, and they come into different categories. There's people like me that carry all their gear and they're going to camp as much as they can. Then you've got people that look like they've hired a bike and a couple of panniers. Now some of these people are camping, but some of them are also staying in guest house or hotels along the way. Then you've got others which are on supported bicycle tours, so they'll just cycle. They might just have one pannier with things that they need for the day, and then they'll arrive at a campsite, and the guys who are running the tour will put the tents up for them, and they'll stay the night. So this route is really accessible for many people. I've seen people of all ages, all fitness levels trying this, and as it's relatively flat, you know, if you've not done a bicycle tour before and you're thinking to yourself, well, I'd like to do it, but I want to find somewhere fairly easy to do it, try the River Danube Trail. It's a Eurovelo Route 6, and it's pretty good. I think the section from Passau, which I haven't reached yet, through to Vienna or Bratislava, that's the most popular section, and it's probably doable within a week or 10 days, I should think. And of course there's plenty to see along the way as well. There's lots of castles, there's monasteries, churches. I don't have time to stop and see everything, and that is one of the downsides of cycling. You kind of feel that you haven't got time to see everything, and of course you haven't got time to see everything. I mean, if you stopped to see everything, I'd still be in Greece, you know, I would never have left Greece. So it's always a balance on a bicycle tour as to what's more important. Is it important to see everything, or is it important to get some miles done? And you kind of come to a balance of both. Anyway, as I continue cycling along, the River Danube was always on my left-hand side on this trail. I will cross the river tomorrow and take a slightly different route. And yeah, today's cycling was really good. Yeah, it was just really enjoyable. So I must explain now that this video is quite a long one, and I think it's about 10 minutes long, which means that this one-off commentary that I do, because I do it all in one take, I have no idea what I'm going to say, and I'll probably need to fill it with nonsense at some point, because I'll probably run out of things to say, won't I? But is that possible? Perhaps it's possible. So I went through this very sort of pretty village and followed this car on the way down, and it's this was obviously a very touristy place. Didn't catch the name of the village, so if anyone knows what it is, please leave a comment below and let me know as well, and then maybe I'll write it up. I'm planning to write blogs about all of this. There's no way that I can do it while I'm actually out on the road. I've decided, you know, putting these videos together is just too much work as it is. So when I finish the tour, probably for the next month or 2 months, I'll probably put a post a week about the bicycle tour, and put about cycling in the different countries, and put my routes there. So I'm still recording everything on the GPS, which is on the Garmin Connect, so I can share my routes with people that might be planning to do the trip. And yeah, but that's something I'll have to do once the tour's finished. And I'm aiming to get back to the UK for about the 22nd, 23rd of July. But I've started to realise that I might have underestimated, is that even a word? I might have underestimated this part of the trip. I've got about 1,700 kilometres left to do, and every day that I'm doing so far, I'm just short of my schedule. I'm focusing on this. You see that sign? It says Spits. I was going to make like a really hilarious Spits and Swallows joke, but yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. It's quite childish, isn't it? Anyway, if you have got a Spits and Swallows joke, leave it in the comments below. Yeah, we like that. Saucy. Nice. So cycling through, lots and lots of pretty buildings, and yeah, like I said, this section was really scenic. I did notice at about 12 o'clock the wind just started to pick up again, and of course it was a headwind coming in my direction once more. And it's one of my pet hates, the headwind. I can cope with mountains, I can cope with long distances, but the headwind just seems to cut me in half. It just makes everything just, I don't know, it's just so much hard work. And I know some people can just seem to cycle through it like a machine, and no, it just cuts me down in half. So I average, when it's you know, when it's a flat road and the going's good, I can get around 20 kilometres an hour out of the bike, you know, but when it's a headwind on that same stretch of road, I might be down to 15 kilometres an hour. and if you've got a whole day of cycling ahead of you, that's quite a lot. So of course the River Danube is always around, and you can see plenty of boats on there as well. This one's just a stationary boat, but I think either before this or a little bit later on you'll see a huge cruise ship, and these cruise ships go up and down and ferry people, down the Danube. And I think some of these people also come off and do sections of cycling as well. On the Danube I also saw some people kayaking, so again maybe it's possible to kayak from, say, Linz down to Vienna or Bratislava. There's a weather vane. Now you can see how that's floating in the wind, and yeah, it's going the wrong way for me. So what that was doing, the wind was catching me and turning me into a weather vane. And then I stopped and saw these like wooden statues. They're kind of like mini Ents, I think, if you know what the Lord of the Rings. You ever seen the Lord of the Rings? Everyone's seen that, haven't they? Anyway, these like mini Ents. Austrians are crazy, aren't they? Why would somebody do this? Why would somebody put all these little mini Ents here? But they're pretty cool. There's one that was doing a karate kick on someone. That one there. Yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd walk back over to the bike and then give another view out over the Danube again. It's a really impressive stretch of water, really. Saw somebody water skiing as well today. I've not seen anyone swimming, so in Slovenia the water is obviously quite clear, and the Big Berry campground I was staying at, plenty of people were swimming in the water. I've not seen anyone brave enough, or stupid enough I guess, to swim in the Danube. I'm not sure what the pollution levels are, but maybe they're not so great anyway, which is a shame because it's a lovely stretch of water, nice hot day, it'd be nice to have a little dip. So, carrying on, there's a cruise ship. And this is huge. I mean, it's not as big as the ocean-going cruise ships, obviously, but yeah, must have had hundreds of people on that ship, I think. So, heading towards a campground today, and like I said, I seem to have been cutting the day short. I mean, okay, today was still 80 kilometres, and when I said it was flat, I still managed to do 450 metres total ascent. But I know deep down if I keep cutting days short like this, it's going to have a knock-on effect sooner or later. So at some point I need to get a couple of 100-kilometre days in and just get the job done, really. But I don't know, I just seem to be lacking that extra bit of motivation just to carry on and push on through. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And by the looks of it, the camera got a bit blurry towards the end as well. So that's it for this vlog post. If you liked it, please thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz, and I will speak to you next time. Thanks very much for watching. See you later. Bye. Good morning everyone, how's it going? So it's another day and it's another beautiful one, although there was a little mini thunderstorm last night and the lightning was really weird. You know how lightning normally comes down in a zigzag? Well, this one was horizontal and it was going across the clouds, and there wasn't any rain for about an hour, and then it started raining a bit, but it was only rain for about an hour or so, so no worries. This morning the ground is dry, but the grass is a little bit wet, so I just need to give the tent a little bit of time to dry before I set off. And where am I setting off to? Good question. I'm heading out towards a city called Linz, and I need to get past the city, and today really I need to get about 100 kilometres done. And the more I think about it, the more I've been cutting short these days since I've started again, and it's having a bit of a knock-on effect. So I'm already 60 kilometres behind my preset schedule, which doesn't mean anything, but it would be nice to get ahead a little bit. So anyway, it looks like a beautiful day for cycling, and I'll give you some videos from the road. Speak to you in a bit. The campsite was basically on the Danube Trail itself, so as soon as I left, I was straight onto the trail once more. Now the trail actually runs on both sides of the river, so today I was expecting to use a ferry or a bridge at some point, but it didn't quite work out that way. At some point I must have missed a turning. I know where it was actually. I could have gone right or left. I chose right, and which was a bit silly because the river was on my left really, and it wasn't signposted. But never mind, it meant I got to go through the countryside and see this beautiful little stretch of farmland which I guess few cyclists cycling the Danube have ever seen before. Of course, if I had a guidebook or a map, it might have helped. The GPS isn't that good when it comes to plotting routes. You would think you could just type in Eurovelo Route 6 and it will plot it for you, because the Eurovelo Route 6 is very well developed, but it doesn't seem to do that. it just picks up random cycling routes. Now whether it's trying to do the shortest route or the most efficient route, I don't know, but there we go. Anyway, at some point I found my way back to the trail once more, so no worries. The headwind again today picked up between 12 and 2, and again cut me right down. At some points I was at 12 kilometers an hour, which wasn't happy days. But then when I came off the trail a little bit more, I was a bit more sheltered, so and the wind didn't affect me so much. Now that's on the Danube trail. When you've got the river to the left or the right, you're actually cycling through a valley, so the wind just howls down and there's no shelter. But I managed to find some shelter because I went off the track a little bit, which worked out nicely. And so what else to say? Cycling infrastructure. So here I'm approaching a tunnel. If you remember back to the Montenegro videos, I used to have to cycle through the tunnels, which was a little bit dicey. But here there's a little underpass, so basically you just go up a little ramp and then it goes underneath the road and through the other side of the tunnel. That's great. I've been really impressed with the cycling infrastructure here in Austria, and I think it's something that other countries could model perhaps. I mean, obviously this Danube route has pretty much paid for itself really, because it's such a major tourist destination for people doing cycling holidays, and it must have paid for itself. The local businesses thrive. Now can you imagine a Land's End to John O'Groats which was predominantly on cycle paths? That would be absolutely amazing for the UK, it really would be. Anyway, so I didn't really have a destination in mind for today. I got myself past Linz and then I started heading onwards, and I thought, yeah, about 20 kilometres past Linz I'll start looking for a campsite, and that's what I did, and I've ended up in a place called Badesee. Trying to ask directions in German is quite interesting for me, although embarrassingly I seem to be able to remember more German words than Greek words, which isn't good, don't tell the missus. Anyway, I'll leave you with this shot of myself, and then I have a concluding segment. Hi there, so that's the end of the day's ride, and it was a reasonably long one in the end. About 90 kilometres or 100 kilometres. I've not got the exact score, but when I get round to writing the blog post I will definitely let you know. And I've ended up in a place called Badesee, and it's a nice campground. It's the cheapest one that I've stayed in so far in Austria. It's €11.30, which is kind of a bit of a random number really, but lovely showers, nice facilities. At the minute I'm in a communal room just charging all my stuff, which you can see on the table behind me there. And tomorrow I have another 80, 90, 100 kilometre day to do. I need to get beyond Passau if I can. And yeah, that's about it really. I mean, I'm just following the River Danube and seeing where the road takes me. Today I did come off the official trail a couple of times, but then always found my way back on again. So tomorrow is a new day and I will speak to you then. Take it easy guys. Cheers for now. Good morning everyone, how's it going? So the start of another day. My bike is packed just where my finger is and ready to go, although I just need the tent, which is there, to dry out a little bit first. It didn't rain during the night, that's just the dew that collects in the morning, so it just pays to give it an extra 5 or 10 minutes to dry the tent out, and it makes life easier on the other end when I arrive at my next destination. Where is my next destination? Beyond Passau. I'm not sure if it's possible to get to Deggendorf today, but I'll give it a go. I'm looking to do about 100 kilometres if I can. Is there anything else to say? There was no internet last night. Oh, what did we do before the internet? Well, I used to have a pack of cards with me and I used to play Patience in the tent. So I didn't even have that. And you know what? I haven't even got a pen. And thinking about it, other than the times when I sign in my name on the registration forms in the campsites, I don't actually use a pen, and I don't think I've used one for about 12 months. Isn't that weird? Weird the way that technology changes everything. Anyway, moving on from that moment of contemplation, let's hit the road and do some cycling. Here's some videos. Cheers for now. So before I begin, I should explain that I'm doing this commentary the day after the cycle ride itself. So this means the memories aren't quite so fresh. Now, although it's only a day ago, what you've got to remember is I did 100 kilometres on this day, and I've just done 100 kilometres today. And it's not that everything blurs into one, it's just that there is so much sensory input. You know, you're looking at so much, there's so many sounds and smells and everything, that it's kind of a bit of an overload situation, so you can't possibly remember everything. I mean, this is very nice, I couldn't honestly tell you where it is, for example, although because it's at the beginning of the video, presumably it's somewhere near Krems. So unless there's a major point that stands out, it might be a major landmark or a major event, things do tend to blur into one, which is, to be fair, is why I'm keeping these vlogs. You know, it's much to share the trip with you guys and to remind me. Anyway, this did stand out. So you know, in a pub you have a condom machine. Well, this is an inner tube machine, and it was on the cycle path, which I thought was a brilliant idea. Somebody left a lucky fluffy toy behind. I was going to take him with me, but I thought he looked more at home there. So yeah, anyway, I think that's a great idea. So here's a clip of the Donnell, and I've taken that from one of the numerous bridges that I've passed over now. In fact, I've lost count of the amount of times that I've crossed over the river. It's easily double figures. This church, again, very, very beautiful. Where is it? Nah, I can't tell you. Yeah. I mean, perhaps I could write down the name of every small town and village I cycle through, but I'd never get any cycling done, so you just have to accept it for what it is. And here's one of the cruise ships. So these go up and down the river, and they take people to the main points of interest. It kind of got me thinking, actually, where do they build these cruise ships? Because they can't sail them in from the sea, so there must be some sort of dockyard somewhere on the Danube, but I've not seen one yet either. Yeah, it's very mysterious. And that was a very big, strange looking boat there as well. I don't know if it's ever been put on water. Anyway, this section of cycling I really enjoyed. The track was very close to the river, and you can see plenty of cyclists. I'm trying to get them to smile as I go past, but only very few do. It could be the fact they don't speak English, but it could be the fact they're not very smiley people. But I don't know why, because I think they're getting more of a tailwind than me. Although that said, on this particular day, I didn't have a tailwind. Sorry, a headwind. So there might have even been a short tailwind. Who knows? Talking of smiling, am I smiling? No. So really, I should take my own advice before I expect other people to smile, shouldn't I? So this clip here is of what was kind of a mock Viking boat. So it had a motor, but it was done up as a Viking boat or like a medieval boat. So I don't know if it was a booze cruise or what it was. And I thought the oars were fake, and then later on they put the oars in the water. So I don't know what that was about. It will just have to remain a small mystery that will never be solved by me. Never mind. This section a little bit reminded me of Slovenia. You remember back to those videos and everything was like pristine and perfect, and the grass was perfectly kept and everything was just, just spot on. Well, I'm not going to say it was as good as that, because I think Slovenia is well in the lead, but Austria's a close second. Sorry, Austria, I don't mean to offend you, but you're a close second. So here is one of the ferries that takes cyclists from one side of the river to the other side. I've not had to use one yet, but I think they're just like €1 or €2. In fact, I did mean to use one, but I kind of forgot or missed it or something. Anyway, these guys have used it. And looking at these guys, I would say that they're on an organised tour, but some of them, I think, are off of the cruise ship. So I think what the cruise ships also do is they drop people off at one point, and the people cycle up the track, the cruise ship moves ahead and then waits for them. And I'll show you a little bit later on why that is in some of the other clips. So, what else is there? Yeah, cycling through, very pretty, like those red roses. I thought they offset against the kind of blue house there. I thought it was very nice, very elegant. And today, like I said, there was no headwind particularly. So, I stopped off on the bridge, and this is one of the cruise ships passing underneath the bridge. I kind of had one of those moments where I wanted to jump on the boat, but then, knowing my luck, I'd probably just go straight through the roof or something. Anyway, as you can see, it's huge. There didn't appear to be anyone on here, so that's why, and you can see all like the tables and chairs are laid flat. That's why I got the impression that they'd dropped the people off on the shore to cycle. And these three people here, I think one of whom waved, I'm sure they must be crew, just taking it easy once everyone's off the boat. Anyway, yeah, that's what I thought. So here we have a mermaid holding a fish. So if a mermaid eats a fish, is that semi-cannibalism? And why are mermaids? Why do they have like a fish's tail? Wouldn't it be better to have like a fish's head and then human legs? Yeah, that'd be a better mermaid, I think. Anyway, sorry about that. Let's move on. So this is another city which you should name and leave a comment below, definitely, because this is a major city on the route. This will prove to me that you've done some research into this as well. Probably a little bit more research than I've done, to be fair. But yeah, it was very nice. One of those places where I would have liked to have stayed perhaps a day to look around, but I just don't have the time. And even if I stayed a day in every place I've stopped at, it would double the length of the trip, obviously. So that would then be a 4-month trip instead of a 2-month trip. Anyway, cycling down the by the side of the river, one of the cruise ships is, you can see one of the cruise ships there. And a little bit later on, perhaps here, you can see some bikes and a bunch of people who are waiting. So I think that they are now going to go on a cruise ship after doing their little bicycle tour. So I went through an underpass and decided that I'd push the bike up just to see what it was like. So it's very nice that they've got a way to push prams and a bike up the underpass. But to be fair, next time I think I'll just cross the road using the road. So time was getting on a bit and I had no real destination in mind. I didn't really know where I was going to be staying the night. Once you get past like the 90-kilometre mark, I don't know, my legs start to feel a bit tired, so I was looking for somewhere half decent to stay. I stopped a couple of cyclists and sort of asked them had they seen a campground. A couple said they had, so it was just a matter of persevering until I found somewhere. And here I did find somewhere. This is a boatyard, and I camped for, let me get this right, I camped for €5 for the night. And there's the tent set up and a lovely sunset. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. I think I'm going to pan round to the bike, yeah. And then I thought it wasn't a good idea, so I thought I'd pan back to the tent. And then I thought I'd fade out on that. End of a good day's ride. Love it. Speak to you next time.